and we are reconnecting yet again. So today is Friday, and it's time for our Lunch and Learn. Now, this report completely caught me off guard. And as a young mom, I never even considered that the mattress that my children were, that they were sleeping on would be toxic. I never even considered that my own mattress could be toxic. We think that the environmental, that the EPA will keep us safe and that kind of thing. And what we're finding is just the opposite. And some of the things that I found in this report were absolutely mind-blowing. Why? What was the need? Why did they do this? And it's really kind of interesting when you read about this. Why did we need to have this in our mattresses? But today we're going to be focusing mainly on children, because children spend as much as 17 hours, babies spend as much as 17 hours a day in their cribs, and toddlers and preschoolers up to 14 hours a day, bedtime and naps and different things. So the research shows that during those critical hours of rest, they could be breathing in harmful chemicals from their mattresses. So we're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about what we can do to control that as well and to mitigate what we need to do. So the findings come from two studies that were conducted by the University of Toronto, and they were published in Exotoxicology and Public Health. In the first study, the researchers measured levels of concerning chemicals in the bedrooms of children between 6 months and 4 years old. They found elevated levels of more than 24 potentially dangerous flame retardants, phthalates, and UV filters in the bedroom air. Now, why would you put UV filters in a mattress? It doesn't see the light of day, okay? You need a UV filter when you go outside and you're in the sunshine, you're at the beach, you're at the lake, you're at the pool, wherever you are. You don't need a UV filter in your bedding. I mean, it just blows me away why they did that. The highest levels of these toxic chemicals were found in the air around the bed. And so this is really concerning because our children spend so much time there. Phthalates are chemicals used to increase the durability, the longevity, the flexibility of plastics. Now, phthalates is spelled, in case you're trying to Google this, it's spelled P-H-T-H-A-L-A-T-E-S, okay? They're made so the mattresses would be more flexible and they would last longer, which I get that. But if it throws off toxic chemicals in our children, we don't want that. In a companion study, researchers checked and tested 16 newly bought children's mattresses and found that they were likely the main source of chemicals. When they simulated the effects of a child's weight and body temperature on the mattresses, chemical emissions increased substantially. Chemicals in the mattress can also migrate to other areas in the children's sleeping environments, including their pillows, their bedding, and their toys. Although these mattresses were bought in Canada, the results likely apply to mattresses purchased in the United States, since the materials come from the United States, Mexico, and other countries. So hormone disruptors are substances that interfere with growth, mood, reproduction, and other vital bodily functions. The flame retardants and the phthalates measured in the study fall into this category and have been linked to impaired memory, learning disorders, behavioral issues, and low IQ scores. Some are also linked to childhood cancers and asthmas. Several of the UV filters identified are also hormone disruptors. Sleep is vital for brain development, particularly for infants and toddlers. However, our research suggests that many mattresses contain chemicals that can harm kids' brains. Now, this is from a senior author of the study, Miriam Diamond. She is also a professor at the University of Toronto. Now, I just want to give an apology to my children. I never even considered that your mattress could be bad for you. Now, my kids haven't been in children's beds for 40 years, and so maybe it wasn't as bad back then, but still, have you ever considered that your mattress could be having hormone disruptors? And certainly at my age, where hormones are, they're waning because of menopause and all that kind of thing, I definitely want to be looking at all the things that we have that can cause hormone disruption, because we need hormones to feel healthy and to do what we need to do. And so these are the kind of things that we need to look at. And it never in a million years would have crossed my mind that children were being inundated with these chemicals in their bedrooms. And so, this is just mind-blowing to me. So the chemicals that are in question, they can definitely affect adults, but children are uniquely vulnerable because of many factors. Their breathing rate is 10 times higher than that of adults, and their skin surface relative to body weight is 3 times higher. Behavioral, such as frequent hand-to-mouth contact, also increases risk. In the review published in the International Journal of Molecular Sciences, it sheds additional light on why children are at higher risk of harm. Their blood-brain barrier, the filter that blocks certain substances from reaching the brain, is still maturing, which makes them even more susceptible to neurological damage. Additionally, children's detoxification systems are not fully developed, making it harder for them to eliminate the toxins. Additionally, infants' skin is much more permeable than the skin of adults. And so this is something that, children don't have a strong detoxification system because they're babies and they should not be exposed to toxic substances. I remember when my first grandchild was born, and anybody that came to visit the child was given a little bottle of Purell to, detoxify their hands and make sure everything was sterile and whatnot. And that's what we do. We take care of our infants and we make sure that they're not exposed to germs. But here we are, not paying attention, not even understanding that these children could be exposed to these horrible, horrible hormone disruptive, neurological disruptive chemicals in their bedding. And so this is something that we're going to talk about, how you can figure out what you need to do. And bedding is expensive. I don't care what kind of bed you buy, it is expensive. It's probably a little bit more expensive to buy something that is organic, but I'm going to give you some resources on that as well. The California Department of Public Health has warned that some children's mattresses also contain fiberglass. Why would you put fiberglass in a child's mattress? Fiberglass are thin glass fibers, sometimes woven into the cloth. Some manufacturers use it to prevent fires in place of chemical flame retardants. Inhaling these tiny fibers can irritate the nose, the throat, the lungs, and possibly cause breathing problems. Now, whoever is doing this is not thinking. They're obviously not a parent. They're obviously not a mother. Certainly when you're putting these materials together, you should be thinking, how is this going to affect the child that sleeps on this bed? They're obviously not considering that. Since not all manufacturers list fiberglass as an ingredient, there's no way to know for sure if your mattress has fiberglass or not. So to prevent exposure, parents are advised to keep the outer mattress cover sealed. All right, and there are problems with those plastic covers. I know a lot of us use those plastic covers, because children, when they're moving from infants to toddlers, they wet the bed. And, washing the sheets on a continual basis is one thing, but then having the urine soaked into the mattress is another thing. Nobody wants that. And so the idea is to put the rubber sheet on and then put another sealed cover on top of that so that you can protect the children. So this is something that we really need to pay more attention to. And I will just tell you, as a young mom, I did it. But as a grandmother, okay, I'm definitely on board here. So the Canadian researchers offer several recommendations to reduce exposure. Wash the child's bedding and sleepwear frequently as to serve as a protective barrier. Remove unneeded blankets, pillows, mattress protectors, and toys which may contribute to exposure. Choose undyed or neutral colored fabrics, as strong colors often require UV filters and other potential harmful chemicals. So ultraviolet rays are not in the bedroom. So I don't understand why people are putting ultraviolet filters in our bedding. It just doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know. I mean, it's going to cost more because anytime you add something to the product, you've got to pay for it. But there's just no need. I mean, maybe somebody out there smarter than I am. I'm sure there is. And if you could just let me know why we need UV filters in our bedding, because I would really like to know. My husband and I, we try and get, the bamboo sheets, the pure silk sheets, that kind of thing, so that we can, make sure that we have a good night's sleep. But I didn't think about those things when my kids were little. And so this is something that we do need to think about so we can, move forward. Additional help for the children's bedding may also help to put a freshly washed sheet or towel between the mattress and the final fitted sheet. Now, this is what we were talking about a while ago. If you want to have a rubber sheet to protect the mattress, and yes, I'm wholeheartedly for that, but put another sheet on top of that before you put your fitted sheet on there, and that's going to protect the child a whole lot better, because waterproof mattress covers also contain harmful chemicals. When asked whether an air purifier could help, Diamond said that a HEPA filter might reduce some chemical levels in the bedroom air. However, she noticed that the highest concentrations were found immediately above the mattress. So it's unclear whether vacuuming with a HEPA filter or having a HEPA filter in your AC units is going to be that much of a help, because as the weight and the heat of the child hits the mattress, it releases those chemicals. And I think this is just absolutely horrendous that we would do this to our babies. So we want to reduce the toxic load. And while it's helpful to reduce children's exposures to chemicals in their sleeping environments, lowering overall toxic loads are also important. This is according to Christy Nault, who is a root cause health practitioner, cellular health coach, and plant medicine expert. Now, I had never heard the term root cause health practitioner, but you know what? That's what I do. I find the root cause of sickness and disease and deal with that so that sickness and disease goes away. Never ever heard anybody call themselves that, but Miss Christie does, and so I'm going to hop on her boat, and I'm going to do that as well, okay? The toxic load that children carry isn't about just one product in isolation, but it is the accumulative effect of their toys, their clothes, their mattress, their carpets. I mean, have you ever recarpeted your home? I have. You walk in the room, the carpet people are there, and there is this distinctive chemical smell. Well, what is that? Well, that's formaldehyde off-gassing from the carpet, which is very toxic, all right? We might need to have the carpets replaced. I'm all about having carpets replaced, but you want to make sure that you're protecting yourself while you are doing that. So while it can be overwhelming to protect the children, it is also empowering. Miss Christie says that bedrooms serve as the foundation of our homes, and by prioritizing clean air, natural materials, and non-toxic products in children's sleep environments, parents can do a great deal to reduce exposure, and they can foster long-term resilience and vitality. And this is what we want to do. Now, I'm just going to be real honest here. When my babies were young, we lived in Scotland, and it was a lovely place to live. I'd go back there in a heartbeat, but they live differently in the UK than they live here. Now, this has been a minute since I was there, but they did not have fast food restaurants on every corner. You were expected to make your meals from scratch. Your the bread truck, the bakery truck came to your house every day or every third day or however often you wanted. The dairy was delivered to the door every morning. The milk, I'm going to say it was not pasteurized because it was a milk bottle, the classic milk bottles. And there would be this much cream at the top of the bottle. And when you pasteurize the milk, part of what you do is you integrate the cream into the milk, and so you don't have that separation. And so every morning when I got the milk, I would have to shake it, and I had to get out there before the ravens got out there, because the ravens would peck a hole. It would have a aluminum foil top on it, and the ravens would get in there and poke a hole in the metal so that they could suck up the cream. And then we had, when we went into town to get the groceries, we got the meat from the butcher. We got the fruits and vegetables from the greengrocer. They were fresh. They were not packaged. They were not sprayed. I mean, it was absolutely fresh eating. So my children, because I ate like that, my children drew their nutrition while they were in me from what I was eating. And then as my children began to eat, they had all of that good, clean food with no additives, and they're very healthy. And I'm just as an accident, we lived in Scotland, and I didn't know the things that I know now, but I'm really, really thankful that my children are so resilient as adults because they had that good foundation that we had because of where we lived. And so it's really, really important that we help our children when they're little, because if they eat just garbage when they're little, then they're not going to have that long-term immune resiliency. And that's what we need so that we can live good, full, healthy lives, okay? So NALT advises that we start with healthier items that children are in contact with every night, including organic cotton or bamboo pajamas and sheets with a GOTS label, okay? GOTS stands for Global Organic Textile Standard. All right, this indicates that we don't have any synthetic fibers in there, and everything is nice and clean. And so you want to Google GOTS bedding and find out who sells it so that when you need to replace what you have, and I know it's expensive. I know it's not realistic that everybody's going to just throw out their mattress and do this right now. But when it comes time to replace, you want to replace with smarter products. So Miss Christie also recommends choosing fragrance-free body and laundry products and installing a bathtub filter so that the children are not bombarded with chemicals and heavy metals in the water. She says, remember, anything that touches your child's skin is absorbed directly into their bloodstream, from synthetic clothing dyes to lotion ingredients and whatever is in the water. Now, one of the things that we want to tag on here is children with devices. I do not want children to have devices. Why is that? Because their blood-brain barrier is not fully developed, and their skull is not very thick. It's remember, when they come through that birth canal, that skull kind of is a little bit squishy there, right? And so what we want to do is make sure that we're not bombarding the children with these EMFs from the devices. Even me, I have devices, obviously. I'm on my cell phone here doing this lunch and learn, and I have an iPad, and I have laptops, and I have all the things. I have all the things, right? But I would not let my children be on them because, number one, their blood-brain barrier is not perfect. Their skull is not perfect. It is addictive, the games and the sounds and all those kind of things, very, very addictive. And you want children to be developing normally, like being outside and using their imagination and, all those kind of things that they're not going to do if they're stuck inside with devices. And so we don't want devices in the hands of our children because it adds to the load with the EMFs, electromagnetic frequencies. We are all subject to them, especially with the 5G that we have right now. If you are not wearing something on your person to protect from that, you're not being very smart. So I've told you this before, I'm going to tell you again. I have a little black diode that I wear on the left-hand side of my bra. Why? Because negative energy comes in through the left side. And so if you want to block that, you want to have your EMF blocker on the left side. With our gentlemen, we used to have a little, it looks like a magnet. It's not a magnet, but it is a protector. It's about the size of a credit card. They'd wear it in their pocket on the left-hand side of their body. Sadly, since COVID, they went up horrendously on their pricing. And so we were not able to keep them in the clinic anymore because they just became so extremely expensive. But I am seeing on social media, I am seeing different companies that are talking about having these EMF shields. And there's one that I like. I can't remember the name, but it is about $50, which is very, very affordable, and it will keep you protected. There are things that you can put on your phone, on your laptop, on your this and that and the other, which that's too many things to buy, number one. And number two, walking down the street, you're bombarded with the 5G anyway. And so, having safe hygiene with your devices is good, but also, okay, you need to have safe hygiene in your person, because wherever you go, you're being bombarded with these frequencies, and it's not great. Okay, it's just not great. With reducing electronics in the bedroom is essential. All right. Again, my children did not have electronics, and yes, I know they're too old to have had the kind of electronics that we have today. But even so, we didn't even have televisions in their room because we wanted them to be with the family. We wanted them to be interactive with their environment, and we wanted them to, develop into really good human beings, because that's what you do as a parent. And so if you have children that have devices, we do not want these devices in the bedroom. We do want you to turn off your Wi-Fi at night. It will help everybody sleep better, and it will support the child's immune system and their quality of sleep. I know that when we live in a very, I was going to say urban, but that might not be exactly the right word, but we live in a downtown area where there's generators and all that kind of thing all around us, and so we're just bombarded with Wi-Fi. When we go to the beach, which we do not often enough, but when we go to the beach, the Wi-Fi is very limited there. In fact, I have to do different things in order to work when I'm down there. However, the quality of sleep is so much better because there's not so much electrosmog in the air. And so this is something that we definitely want to protect our children, because our children's brains are developing, their immune system is developing, everything is brand new and shiny, and we don't want it to be impacted by these negative things. So even small intentional shifts like upgrading a mattress can significantly reduce the burden on the child's developing immune, hormonal, and neurological systems. Miss Christie recommends that we look for mattresses made from certified organic natural material, such as the GOTS certified cotton, the global organic latex, standard latex, and organic wool. So these are some things that you can look for, but you're going to have to be intentional. Going to Babies R Us, going to Target, going to Sears, wherever you go. Okay, and I know that some of those stores don't even exist anymore. But when you go to those stores, you're going to have to be intentional. And like I said, until I read this report, I didn't even know that was a thing. So y'all probably don't know that that's a thing either. Certifications also matter. So prioritize third-party verification standards such as Green Guard Gold. Okay, I'm going to spell this. OEKO-TEX, T-E-X, and Made Safe. Those are the three independent companies that will verify whether or not your product really is, as they say, organic and that kind of thing. These labels indicate, or these companies indicate, which products have been screened for known toxins and harmful emissions. I'll tell you a story too. Whenever I've been married twice. Most of y'all know that. My first husband died in 1999. I got married again in 2003. When we were on our way to do all the finalization, get the wedding dress, get the wedding jewelry, all the things, right? We have to do all the things. And my husband, my now husband, I went into a bridal shop. I wanted to look for wedding jewelry. He went into the dry cleaners to pick up his dry cleaners because he lived in the neighborhood. When he came out of the dry cleaners, and we could smell the chemicals in the bridal store. I mean, we could smell them. He came out of the dry cleaners, got me, we got in the truck, and I'm looking at him. I'm on the side, and I'm looking at him, and his eye is starting to bulge out. Not only is it bulging out, but it's bulging out in a hexagonal pattern, shape, okay, which is really like bizarre. And he had had some surgery on his eyes some months prior, and he had some medicine at home. We went to his house, put the medicine in. He was all good. But I told him, you are banned from going back to that dry cleaners because we don't want anything happening to your eyes. And this is what happens with these chemicals. Your body, the first time you encounter it, no problem. The second time you encounter it, but on multiple occasions, and this is where he took his dry cleaning every week. This particular day, he had a reaction and never went back into that dry cleaners again because he was so sensitive to those chemicals. All right. So we want to avoid in our mattresses that use polyethylene foam, synthetic latex, or those that do not clearly disclose their flame retardant treatments. Now understand why we have flame retardant treatments on our mattresses. House fires occur, furniture fires occur. We understand that. So I understand having flame retardants in the mattress because if something catches on fire, there's going to be a delay before the mattress catches on fire. But I do not understand why we have to have UV filters in our bedroom furniture. All right. If transparency is lacking in these companies, and that is a red flag that their products are not free from these toxic things. So we want to make sure, companies pride themselves on being organic. Companies pride themselves on being clean. You guys know that I do anti-aging skincare. I do anti-aging supplements, right? All of these things that I use on my body, it goes through 7 years of testing, 75 different scientists to make sure there's nothing ugly in there because, as the report says, whatever I put on my skin, I'm going to absorb. Whatever I ingest, I'm going to absorb. And so I want to make sure that I have the absolute cleanest products that I can because I'm at the age where anti-aging is a key motivation for me because, when people get older, they're more subject to decay and different things, and I just don't see that in my future. And so I do all the things that I can do in order to prevent that. If you are unsure about a bedding product, Miss Christie says to contact the company directly, and they will be very honest with you. And if they're not, run a mile, okay? Run a mile. So it is impossible to avoid all the chemicals that we have in our environment. We're not in the Garden of Eden. We're not on a desert island somewhere. It is impossible for us to avoid everything, but every little step that we do is going to improve not only our health, but also our babies. And that's one of the things with parents. Your most important responsibility is to keep those babies healthy, keep them safe. And so the more we know, the better we can do that. So I hope you found that helpful and empowering. If you feel like you need to do some detoxification, we want to look at antioxidants because antioxidants go in there and they attack those free radicals, which is what causes the oxidative damage and the oxidative stress in our bodies, even in our babies, right? This is why we don't want them eating mac and cheese and chicken nuggets, right? We want them eating fruits and vegetables and real protein, not pressed scraps of protein, okay, that has all these chemicals in it to make it taste good. We want to have the kind of food that is going to nourish their immune system. And when you do that, the fresh fruits and fresh vegetables, they're going to get those antioxidants in there and they're going to be able to naturally detox. If you need any help with that, of course, we can help you do that. It's absolutely my pleasure to bring these reports to you. Hopefully you've got some good takeaways and hopefully you're going to go look at your mattress. Okay. I have an app on my phone called Think Dirty. And you might think that that's like, on the wild side, but it's not. It's all about all the dirty things in the things that you buy. I looked on that app and it didn't have anything about mattresses. All right. But the Environmental Working Group, all right, they have a lot of mattresses, and I think there's like 10 mattresses that they do recommend. So you can go there, you can look at that list. It's Environmental Working Group, EWG.org, O-R-G, okay? It's free. They also have an app. You can Google or not Google, but you can go to that app and you can put in anything that you want to look at, and it will tell you what's clean and what's not, and you can make your best choices from that. So it is a weekend. It's a long weekend. We want to especially be respectful to our fallen heroes. We would not be the country that we are without our military, and so it's not necessarily a holiday that we go, yay. It's not one of those, but it is a holiday where we remember our fallen soldiers, our fallen military, and we are very grateful for their ultimate sacrifice. So it's a 3-day weekend. Remember, but enjoy yourself as well and get ready for the next week. So I will talk to you next week. Love you. Bye.